I think it's super important for entrepreneurs to remember that like your first job, even before, providing for your family, is loving your family, is supporting your family, is being there for your family. And you need to be present. I think that's one of the most important things is being present, not just being in the house, but being present with your family. And that's something I still have a lot of work to do on, because it's hard. If the entrepreneurs are listening to this, they know it's hard to turn it off, because you're afraid if I turn it off, like it's going to stay off, you know?
Our guest today is the co-founder of 26 Shirts, Buffalo, New York's do-good apparel that has helped raise over $1.8 million to worthy, heart-centered causes in the Buffalo community. The idea for 26 Shirts happened quite accidentally when he co-founded the BillsMafia movement with a group of Bills fans on social media in 2011. Welcome back to the show, fellow Buffalonian, Del Reid.
Thanks so much for having me, man. It has been a minute since I was on last, and I'll tell you what, man. I want to give you a quick shout out, really quick. I have received over the past several years so many emails that have said, "I saw you on Mic'd Up," and it's
Wow.
opened up some different opportunities. It's it's been really cool. So, just want to encourage you and let you know that your show is being heard and seen, and you're making a difference with what you do. So, great job.
Thanks, brother. That feels awesome. I just love the reason I do this, and Del, you know this. I mean, you since the beginning, you were one of my first episodes, episode 3. The reason I do this is to get great stories out there and really inspirational content for people to realize I can do this too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had you on, and so people, like, if you haven't heard Del's story yet and you want a little bit more backstory, because we're going to talk some Bills football today. So if you're tuning in right now on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, first of all, thank you for being with us today. But if you haven't heard Del's full story, I recommend you go back to episode 3. And my apologies, I was a little rough at the go of it. But the point is, I got started, and Del got started with 26 Shirts, and it was something that kind of found him. And podcasting, same thing. It found me. I didn't wake up one day thinking I was going to have a podcast. So thank you for sharing that. And the reason I hit on it there to kind of piggyback on your thought is to remind everyone who's listening, find your calling, find your thing. And that's why we're doing this again today. Not only is the Bill season right around the corner, only a couple weeks away, but we got some exciting news. Guys, check out 26shirts.com, and I'll have all that clickable in the show notes as well as the social media. And yes, it's been 3 years since Del was on the show, and a couple cool things have happened since. First of all, our beloved Buffalo Bills have been AFC East champions 3 times since Del was on the show, so we got a little good mojo. And also, we got a recent celebration on hand. Del and his team at 26 Shirts have expanded. Every time I talk to you, you're growing and growing and growing and outgrowing your space. So now you're into a bigger space. You had a recent ribbon cutting event. So share where you're at now. I know it's Kenmore Ave, but give us a little bit of the scoop on the current location. And then for those tuning in for the first time, maybe give a little bit of backstory on how 26 Shirts was actually born.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thanks for that little plug. We have a new location now. Tri-Main, we're in the Tri-Main Center for a long time, since our inception, and Tri-Main was great to us. Matt over there was a great landlord. But just as time went on, we just grew to become a little too big for the space. And we had to put on our big boy pants and go find a space out there in the world where we'd have to do our own utilities and our own garbage pickup and all these things I never even thought about before when we were under the Tri-Main umbrella. But yeah, we're on Kenmore Avenue, 2205 Kenmore Avenue. I tell everybody we're on the other Kenmore Avenue. We're on the side that is west of Military. It's a little bit of a jaunt from the what is the more well-known Kenmore Avenue to me. Right around the corner from Vulcan, right next door to the Charter School for Applied Technologies. It's a great space. Uniland has taken great care of us. We now have literally twice as much space as we had in our last suite at Tri-Main. We've got our own little warehouse. We've got a little bit more office space. We still have a showroom like we had in our last space. So it's a great setup. We'd love to host anybody that wants to come check us out. And I'll even give you a little tour if you ask nicely.
That's awesome. So yeah, if you guys are in the Buffalo area, definitely take Del up on that. I mean, if you go in, you can actually scope out the different shirts. But something I wanted to touch on is the origin of the idea of 26 shirts. If someone's like, why is it called 26 shirts? Well, how many weeks are in a year? Cut that in half, you do the math, right? So every 2 weeks, a new design comes out, and that's why it's called 26 shirts. And it's not just, hey, cool, Buffalo Bills design or Buffalo Sabres design. We all love that, and we eat that up here in our community. But there's a heartfelt, beautiful story, and a lot of times it's a devastating story, and you're making light and trying to put some, awareness around it so people can help out, but then also there's that financial support. So I know that a lot of the, I mentioned at the top of the show, $1.8 million has been raised from these t-shirts and designs, and you got mugs and hats and the whole thing. So that's what I'd really like you to touch on. Can you share how that whole idea was really born? Because I know at first when you started, you didn't realize its potential yet.
Yeah, that's great. And you asked me that in the last question. I apologize. I truncated my reply there. But we as you mentioned before, the BillsMafia movement that kind of accidentally started back in 2011 dropped this big social media audience into my lap, and I wanted to do something productive with it, more than just make fart jokes and call the Patriots a bunch of cheaters. Both, one of which is funny and one of which is true. But I wanted to do more than just that. When people are dialed in and they're listening to what you have to say, there's a responsibility that is attached to that, and wanted to do something productive with it. So the first couple of years, we were trying different things with fundraiser tailgates, just different events that, would allow us to connect people together. Cause I love bringing people who share common interests together so they can share it in person, and just different events like that. And then eventually I had this idea that, about selling t-shirts to help families in need. Somebody had reached out to me and, mentioned how his daughter had a condition called retinoblastoma, and he was doing an online fundraiser, an online raffle fundraiser to raise money for the costs associated with her care. And I just felt really motivated to do something. And I've always been a big t-shirt nerd, and that's kind of what I'm good at. Some days I feel like I'm better at it than I do on other days. But and so I just wanted to use my talents to do good. And so I said, all right, man, next time we do a special shirt with BillsMafia, I'll give you guys the proceeds. And that kind of just kept the wheels spinning. And then on Monday nights, I used to attend this men's accountability Bible study group, and I was just talking with my friends and talking about Amber, that little girl with the retinoblastoma, and how I felt motivated to help, and just kept talking, and eventually landed on this idea where I could sell a different shirt every 2 weeks to help people in need. And now you fast forward, however many years, we're at 1.8 million. We're actually doing a shirt every week now, not just every 2 weeks. So the name means nothing now. So I would call it 52 shirts, but we also do shirts on Wednesdays. So it's 104 shirts. I don't know, but at this point, we're way too invested in the brand name. So so we're just trying to, as much of an appetite as this area has for merchandise that represents its city and its city's teams, we want to meet that need. We want to do it in a way that actually supports the community that these shirts represent, though. And it's been a huge honor to play the role that we do now in kind of in the social media landscape. And now as we grow out, you can find our shirts, at T-Shirt University, at the Walden Galleria, different wholesale opportunities that we've had to work with different retailers, and we have our own retail storefront now. So it's kind of left the internet. It's still on the internet. It's still 98% of our sales probably, but we've kind of bridged over from the internet into the real world a little bit with our gear and our message. And we've had great, opportunities to spread the word through local media, and we don't take any of those for granted. And if people are gonna rep their team, then we want to give them an opportunity to do it in a way that supports their fellow fans. And it's been a great journey so far. And as we continue to grow, there's so many different. It's just been so much. It's been so humbling as we continue to grow. It's humbling to have our brand embraced the way it has been. We don't take that for granted.
So when did you actually start 26 Shirts? Was that in 2013 then? A couple of years after that? So it's actually a 10-year anniversary?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that's
This
insane,
November.
man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
This November will be 10 years that we have been doing 26 shirts. And
Wow.
it's insane, surreal, crazy. What all those words, they're all accurate. And so, we haven't
Does
really
that mean
started.
by mathematically? Look, I did pay attention in third grade. So 26 shirts a year times 10, so 260 shirts.
Yeah. Well, it's even more than that now. Yeah.
Plus the additional ones and all the other stuff. You have jerseys, mugs, hats, the whole thing. But
Mhm.
each shirt supports a different person and or family or different cause. I know sometimes it's more of an organization that it gets the charitable donations, but so that's amazing, man. Think of how many people right there. I knew it was getting up there. I knew it was dozens. I knew it was maybe a couple hundred, but 260 minute, plus more. That's just an awesome thing that you're doing.
No,
I
thank
don't
you.
know if
It's
you've ever
team effort.
reflected on that, but yeah, team
No.
effort for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
give
team
a
effort.
shout out to the team. Give a shout out
Yeah.
to the team, man.
Yeah. No, we have a fantastic crew now. We have Andrew Baglini, who formerly of Channel 4 here in Buffalo, New York. He was the weatherman, and now he's our marketing man. Um, Josh, our longest tenured employee, is our creative director. He conceived and designed the shirt you're wearing right there with Josh. He does a amazing job. The dude's unreal. We have Stephanie, who is our uh, operations manager. She handles all of our events and just so many of the little intricacies of the day to day stuff. She's fantastic. Our pop ups and all the different things that we do. And we just recently hired a gentleman named Bob, who I've actually known him since sixth grade. I never thought we'd be working together, but he's our inventory manager now, handling our fulfillment and our warehouse stuff. And then Leanne is our newest employee, who is a graphic designer who works with Josh, our creative director. But Leanne, I've known her and her husband Alex through Bill's Mafia for almost the entire duration. So it's really cool. It's come full circle now, and she's working with us. And her and Alex have always been huge volunteers and a big help with everything we've done. Um, and it's great. And it's just, it's a great, team that we have. Everybody fills a role and they do it very well. And I tell everybody, like, hey, listen, like, this is a pretty small operation. And, I know that, I'm the founder, but if you're here, like, I'm not looking for babysitters. I'm looking for parents. You have to own what you do. You have to, be in charge of that. And, the team understands that mission. And it's really humbling to be able to work with this team and to have them we're all pulling in the same direction. It's a great thing. And then also, like, in terms of giving shout outs, like, all of our fellow fans who believe in what we do and support our efforts through, either purchasing, our gear or sharing it on social media, all those, everything that's, part of that. Our sponsors, we have some great sponsors that help us out. So, but none of it's possible without everybody I just mentioned, and I'm probably forgetting people too. So
Yeah.
it's a great setup we have.
It is incredible, and I just remember the first time we were getting lunch. I think I remember this pretty vividly because it was really at the inception of Bill's Mafia. You gave me one of the original red and blue wristbands, and I still have it. I'm pretty sure somewhere in a drawer. I'm sure it's still exists. But I remember getting crap from my family. I think I told you this last time or one of the times we got together. It was my ex-wife's dad. So my father-in-law at the time, and we're on family vacation. He's busting my chops. He's like, Bill's Mafia, that's never going to take off. And there was maybe at that point in time 7,000 Twitter followers, which is still pretty substantial for like a word of mouth movement
Yeah.
in Buffalo. And now I don't know, it's got to be over 100,000 plus. I mean, not to mention the whole world calls Bills fans Bills Mafia now. So I think it took off. And then the other thing I wanted to say about what you said, and I appreciate you giving the team shout outs because they all deserve it and everybody's a part of it. You started off as the quarterback, but then you also like handed the ball off to yourself, and then you ran into another room and changed your hat, and you were doing the printing press and the whole thing. But now you have the right people in the place, on the team. So, but I want to say this: t-shirts, hats, mugs. There's so many different options out there, but one of the things you do extremely well, and shout out to Josh for sure, is the designs are cool. I wouldn't wear this if it wasn't cool, But I feel great buying it and wearing it because it also gives a charity. So when I get the option of wearing a cool Bills shirt and I know it's going for good, it's a slam dunk. It's a touchdown. It's just you're doing great, brother. And so I don't think it's just by accident that you guys blown up over the last 10 years. It's because everything is done well. Design, implementation, social media, marketing. I'll say this. When you get emails nowadays, how many people look forward to an email, right? Like 0.0% typically. Marketing emails, I mean. And when I get the 26 shirt email once or twice a week, I look forward to it, I look forward to it because I know there's going to be a new cool design, and I share it with friends. Isabel, my daughter, she's now 8 years old. Dell, can you believe that? She has a couple 26 shirts. All the Buffalo-y, the Bluey character that was the buffalo. She got the Care Bear one. There's another one she's got too, the Hello Kitty. She loves Hello Kitty, so she's got the Hello Buffalo version of that. Just really cool. And so she gets to, she's learning the game, but now she's getting to experience that fanhood, that thing that there's something else other than just what happens on the field. So, as a kid, she's getting into it through that. Do we want to touch on the Bills Mafia origin story of like the whole Schefter tweets, or should we just send people to episode 3? What do you think?
I can give a very quick version.
Yeah, let's do it, because I think people still think it's just the mayhem in the parking lot, and then Mafia is a negative thing, and it's really not a negative thing at all. Share the story.
Yeah, so in 2010, the Stevie Johnson dropped a pass against the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime. It was, primed to be like the key moment of the entire season. They started the season 0-8, and the fact that they pushed the Steelers, the perennial playoff contenders, into overtime was absolutely unreal. I think every fan was expecting to just get blown away in that game. And Ryan Fitzpatrick drops back to pass, drops the bomb right into Stevie's hands. He drops it. And then that night he goes on Twitter and kind of questions God. Bills fans were sticking up for him. And, Adam Schefter from ESPN, he retweets Stevie from at 4:00 the next day, which in Twitter time is forever. And we kind of teased at him. He got a little upset over it, I guess, and blocked a bunch of us. And then fast forward a few months, like tongue in cheek referred to us as the Bills Mafia. And it just kind of spiraled from there. It just grew. Right. I wasn't trying to do anything. It was one throwaway tweet. How many tweets if you go on my Twitter account, how many tweets do I have? Probably over 100,000. And
one of them stuck though. Yeah, one
of them stuck. And I wasn't even aiming for the wall, and it stuck. So it was just kind of.
Well, it's funny though, just to let people know, like some of the things that were said is because he was, a day late on that story. And how many times can you tell that story? Okay, he admitted that he was wrong, and he came out the next day, even apologized to fans and everybody, and then he wrote it as an article like it was breaking news. And so some of the things were funny. They'd be like a hashtag Schefter breaking news, Abe Lincoln was shot, or dinosaurs are extinct, hashtag Schefter breaking news. And it was just a bunch of like really obvious funny things, and he couldn't take a good joke. So that's actually, folks, how Bills Mafia became a name. It was just a term. And then from there, like you said, you were selling the Bills Mafia stuff just in the parking lot. Literally, you might have had a couple dozen in a box. And then the demand came for it. And then you realized the potential for raising money for good causes, and look what you've done over 10 years. Absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Again, that is the Bills Mafia origin story. Now, I know I want to ask you, is it water under the bridge? The team actually owns the name now, Bills Mafia. Do you want to share anything about that? I just kind of wanted to, some people may not know how it started from 26 shirts and how it actually became a national thing, and the Bills finally embraced it after about 5 years, right?
Yeah,
6 years,
maybe. Actually, it was about 9 years at that point. So
9 years.
Yeah, in 2011, Bills Mafia that took off. That off season following the 2010 season. Then 2013, 26 shirts, which is kind of like it's on its own, connected but parallel track. In 2020, I think the Bills, early on in the early Bills Mafia days, like the Bills did not like the term. Understandably, I think that's why it was so popular, because it was a really like biting term, I can't think of the right word to use, but and so they weren't
It's
really
not really
cool with it.
derogatory, but kind of on that fence of
Yeah, it
yeah,
was on the fence. It was on, it
yeah,
was on the fence kind of thing.
yeah.
But they didn't
It
really
wouldn't go
embrace it.
away though, right? It
No,
wouldn't go away. They almost had to embrace it.
yeah, it was almost one of those things where if you can't beat them, join them. But it also, and a lot of it had to do with new ownership, coming in 2014, and um, it was just a whole different lay of the land. So I think they saw just that Bill's Mafia was not going away, and they embraced it. And some people think that I have beef with the team about this. Like, those people need to take a step back and think about like the real world, how everything
Yeah,
works. Like, this is the coolest thing ever, and they brought
right.
me in, before it was actually announced that they were going to be doing all these things. And they said, hey, listen, this is happening. We're gonna do this. We want you to be a part of it. And they brought me in. I said,
Right.
this is amazing. They brought me in, and I shot a couple of videos with them just talking about Bill's Mafia. And to their credit, a lot of people think it was like a money grab. And yeah, you could buy a lot of different, quote, Bill's Mafia shirts now that they put out in different products and everything.
Sure.
But that makes sense. It's their term, but that they've embraced. But every meeting I had with them, I stressed how the importance of Bill's Mafia is not T-shirts. Bill's Mafia is not, anything. It's
Merchandise.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. It's about community. And
Right.
and they heard me. Like, I literally I met with Kim Pagula and aired my concerns. Like, I was very upfront. Like, I feel like, this has been a child of mine and Leslie's and Bree's. But this is our child, and now it's kind of like leaving the house, and we're very not possessive but protective of it. And
Hmm.
like I said, to their credit, they completely understood it, and I had some really great conversations with them about what they wanted to do with it and how they wanted to use it to really like connect the community, not exploit the community. And
Yeah.
it's been a great experience with them. And I've had the opportunity to do some cool things. During COVID, I got to host a watch party with Fred Jackson over Zoom and everything, or whatever it was, Microsoft
Yeah.
Teams. I forget what it was. Whatever whatever
Yeah.
it was.
The-
I always say
yeah.
Zoom, kind of like generically, like
I think it
connects us
is
all to
Microsoft Teams because I believe Microsoft Tablets NFL
Yeah,
connection.
that would have made sense. So, but
Right.
it was cool. I got to do stuff like that. There's been so many other things, along the way, and it never ceases to be absolutely cool, surreal, amazing to be at the stadium and hear over the loudspeakers, all right, Bills Mafia, get on your feet, it's third down or
Yeah.
whatever, all the different announcements. Hey, Bills Mafia, like everything.
I was going to ask you, Della. So do you still get? Because I still get like a little bit of that excitement. I always call it like Christmas morning feeling when you hear that. It's that energy that you're like a
Yeah.
kid again.
Mhm.
And when you're a Bills fan, you never lose that. This right before kickoff, I still get it. I get it every
Oh my
game,
gosh.
whether I'm
Absolutely.
there, whether I'm watching at home by myself, whether I'm with a group of 30 people. I get that. Oh, it's just there's nothing like what the Bills mean to this community, and then to hear Bills Mafia and know that you're part of that origin. And so you still get that feeling, huh? I
Oh my
would
gosh. Yeah.
hope so.
Just like
Yeah.
back last month when training camp started, they had a giant arch that says "Welcome, Bills Mafia." Like, that's amazing. Like that's
Yeah.
so cool. Like, if
Yeah.
people think that it's about like I should have like sued them, or I should have fought them, or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
take a step back. The fact that we created a term and they embraced it and they use it is amazing. For crying out loud, like mine and Leslie's and Bree's names are on the Bills Wikipedia page. We're a footnote in Bills history. How many people can say that? It's like,
Yeah. Super
that's
cool.
the coolest thing about this stuff. And then obviously, well, not obviously, but in 2020, when all this started happening, at that point, Bills Mafia had already become a national term. It was embraced by like most of the fans, and ESPN was using it. And I was at that point 7 years deep into 26 shirts, and my goal was to make sure that the work of 26 shirts was never compromised. That's my attention. Bills Mafia belongs to everybody now, and if the Bills are caretakers of it, good. That was always. I remember back in 2013 or 2012 having a conversation with my friend Mike Sullivan at the Kick Is Good on Twitter. That's a little plug. I
Yeah. I
don't know
remember.
how active he is anymore, but
Yeah. I could
just
picture
telling.
the avatar with like
Yep,
the 2D field goal
yep,
posts.
yep. The ball going through it.
Yeah.
But I remember telling him back then, like, long-term goals. Like, I think it would be really cool if the Bills fan base became known as Bills Mafia. And thinking then, like, that'll never happen. Here we are.
Right.
So
Well, that's why I asked you the question, Del, because I wanted to clear the air. Personally, that was a question for me, but I think a lot of Bills fans and Bills Mafia tuning in right now are kind of wondering it because, of course, it never really came out like full disclosure. There were some videos of you and doing stuff with the team, and I think on maybe Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, you got some love, and you were in some of the promo videos, which is really cool to see, and I got excited for you. But I don't know if it ever came out where you got to just kind of chill on a podcast and just kind of tell it that way. So that I wanted to give you the floor. And I appreciate you. So it's water under the bridge. Like, what a cool moment to be, like you said, a part of Bill's history. And you weren't even doing it for that reason. You weren't concocting a plan at lunch with your friends. Like, what can we do so then we can, like, manipulate and use it on social media? It was just like, it happened. It just happened. And that's the best magic happens when it's not anticipated like that. So let's go back to the creative process. You said you really love it. You're a t-shirt junkie, your term. So what do you love most about the creative process at 26 Shirts?
I really love the collaboration that we all have. I love that one of us can have an idea and then another person can kind of piggyback that off that idea. And then a third person can sometimes like just bring it home. It's a great, very few designs are done soup to nuts by one person. And so it's a really great, team building activity for us to do that constantly, like through the week. And then also there's opportunities, there's, things that happen where, I always use the example in like 2017, maybe, the Sabres traded for Jason Pominville. This is always the example I use. And it was on Twitter and the Sabres hadn't even announced it yet, but it was like one of those things where it's happening, like an NHL insider like announces it. It's not like a weird rumor, like it's happening, just a matter of when the team's going to announce it. And so it was probably like 2:00, maybe 1:00, 2:00, whatever it was. I don't forget if it was like Pierre Maguire or Darren Drager. Somebody says, Sabres are trading for Jason Pominville. And, beloved longtime player of the team. Everybody was sad when he, when he left.
He was a fan favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we hustled and we got a shirt up within an hour. We like conceived, designed, and published a shirt within an hour of that. So it looked like the Welcome to Buffalo sign that you see on like the 33, but it said Welcome to Pominville, and then it said like Welcome back to Pominville. And we had it up there just about exactly when the Sabres were announcing it. And so people were like, how did you know? Because so many people didn't see the original tweet. And like, how did you know? How do you have that inside information? Like, no, we're just on social media too much. But like, just the adrenaline that we had to, just through that whole process, like, we got to get this out. We got to get this out. We got to get this out. And to hit it, it was just, that was a really fun time. And there's been other times where that's happened as well, same scenario. But that I think that was the first time it really happened. So that's the one that sticks with me.
Well, it's one of those things. There's like magic moments that happen during the game. The Josh leap, the first time he jumped over Anthony Barr. I think that was one of those where you're like, okay, we got to get creative on our feet right now. Like, no pun intended. But by that next day, I think you guys had a Josh leaping T-shirt design.
There's a whole story there too. Like our creative director Josh was out. He was out of town. It was his birthday weekend, I think, or something. And so he was not available to do a shirt. And so I contacted one of the freelance artists that we've used in the past. And I was like, dude, I know it's Sunday, like 4 p.m. Like, are you able to do a shirt like in the next few hours? And he's like, I love it. I said, here's the idea. And it was kind of like a play on the Air Jordan logo and everything. I said, here's the idea. And can you bring it home? And he's like, yeah, but I have to wait until I put my son to bed. And so I'm like, okay. I just had to go to bed. He's like 8:30. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, okay, we want this live at midnight. Just, cause we wanted to like just jump in and make that the next shirt.
Yeah.
And so we, okay. And so I think if I remember correctly, like between his development of the design, my receiving it and doing all the website work and all the stuff that Josh usually does, because it was all done. He did it all before he left on for the weekend because we had a design already lined up. like I had it. I think I got it. I remember. I think I got it published, ready to go on the website, or ready for publication on the website at like 11:56 or something like that, right before midnight.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And it was crazy. Who knew? Like we would end up doing like
Yeah.
three,
And the
four,
dude
five
had to
shirts.
design and draw the thing after his kid went to bed at 8:30. So, he put
Mhm.
2 solid hours into it, which is not a lot of time for design, and especially,
No,
like, I'm sure your team gets to review it and maybe make some, but it was like you had to do it because on social media, when something that big happens, a quarterback leaping, over, and that was when
hmm
Josh was just breaking in. It was his rookie season, right?
yep,
And, it was kind of his first flash play where it was like, "Welcome to the NFL." Like, I know for me, I was wrong about the draft pick. I admit, guys, I was in the Rosen camp, which couldn't have been further
mm,
couldn't have been more wrong about that pick. But I am glad I'm wrong. Josh Allen, thank you
amen.
every time you do something special. Thank you for proving me that I know nothing when it comes to evaluating quarterback
Yeah,
talent. I also thought Mason Rudolph was going to be great too. How's that working on him? Sorry, I shouldn't be it's good that I'm in podcasting and not, Brandon Bean's wingman. But anyway, that was the moment that Josh he never looked back from that. He just kept getting better and better and better. Really cool story there. Guys, I want to hit on a couple things that we talked a little bit about in the beginning of the show. But if you're, here because you love our entrepreneurial stories and you've been with me for, the 200 episode ride so far, and we have a lot of great authors and educators, athletes, entrepreneurs, like I said, just so many amazing people. You may not know this because you're not maybe a Buffalonian or you're not familiar with the team. We appreciate you being here for the story, Dell's entrepreneurial story as well. We're going to touch a little bit on that in a moment. But I want to highlight a few things. Like when we talk about the community of Buffalo and how special it is, 26 Shirts is one example. A couple years ago, Josh Allen's grandma passed away. I think fans found out during the game against the Seahawks when he was kind of pointing at the sky, and Josh performed. I mean, he had an amazing performance, and he was just inspired. And then fans started donating $17 for Josh's number to Oshai Children's Hospital, and that thing blew up. And now there's a Patricia Allen Fund and a whole wing at the hospital in her name. Andy Dalton's charity blew up after he throws the game-winning touchdown, which for the Bengals, interestingly enough, which puts the Bills in the playoffs because they defeated the Ravens and knocked them out, and the Bills slid in. He had like over $400,000 in a couple days. Lamar Jackson gets injured in the divisional round a couple years ago. An opposing quarterback, and fans start giving to his charity, like in the moment of him being injured in the game. And then last year, top supermarkets, there was a crazy shooting in a targeted situation where, was it 12 people that passed away, somewhere around there? And heartfelt, and the community came together to raise money for the local families that were impacted, and then just the local community. And then, of course, Damar Hamlin, what's he, over $10 million, I believe he raised from his life-threatening situation on the field. So that is Bills Mafia. Like, if you're wondering what this is about, there's just a handful of examples. There's dozens more than that, too. So Bills fans are built and wired differently, Del. You know this. How would you describe it to someone? Like if you bumped into someone in a Chicago airport and they're like, "Oh yeah, Bills are cool. Tell me about it." Like, how do you explain it? Did I kind of do a good job right there?
did a great job. I would say we're passionate, and that passion isn't reserved for Sunday afternoons or now Thursday nights or Sunday nights or Monday nights or whatever. Those aren't reserved for the 3 hour period that the team plays. It
Agreed.
carries through, not even through the week, but through the year. Is there some of those fundraising things you just touched on? We did one for a Tennessee-based charity because there was like some poll or something about who the best fans are, and it turns out the Tennessee fans use bots to like game
Yeah,
Twitter to win
remember that.
the thing, and we ended up raising like $25,000 for a Tennessee charity, like a family services charity, and it doesn't end. It doesn't end. It doesn't stop. You wake up in the morning and you're as big a Bills fan on an April morning as you are on a September afternoon. It just doesn't end, and we put our money where our mouth is. We are proud of the community that BillsMafia represents, really, which is the Western New York community at large, which is a very giving, loving community. Um, we're proud of that, and we take every opportunity we can to show it.
Yeah. What's also special too is Western New York. It's a beautiful place. There are great people here. It's a great place to raise a family. We get a lot of flack for not being like a sexy destination for vacation, maybe, but especially during the winter time. And we get it. We get that. But at the same time, it's like, Western New York, it's not necessarily a wealthy, like, we just got all this money set. There's families that are like just barely putting food on the table for their family and they're giving $17. You know what I mean? And it's just really special. And so I want to make sure we hit on that. Yeah, it's definitely a fan base, but I know you've called it the fan base, and there was a little bit of play on that in the marketing in the past. Is that still going on, the fan base?
Yeah, yeah. The Buffalo fan base is still a blog that we run. It's what we've named all of our social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
yeah,
it. Fam.
absolutely. And I can't take credit for that. A Bills fan named Sean in Nebraska, I think, or if you're watching, dude, sorry. But he coined that term back in 2011, and basically we loved it. He's like, run with it, it's yours.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's the best.
Well, you
name.
just mentioned someone who's not in Buffalo, but they're a Bills fan, and BillsMafia is all over the world. One of my friends, John Beebe, shout out to John. He's been on the show. He's an entrepreneur as well. Crazy Bills fan. You may have met him at some of the games, but he loves going, go to Disney or whatever, and he'll wear his Josh Allen jersey, and someone's always flagging you down, and it's always, go Bills, right? And It just feels great when you connect with someone. You don't even need to know anything about them. You see that Bills hat, and you can be 30 feet away, give them the head nod to go Bills, and on you go. And it's just the best feeling, like everybody has that connection to other Bills fans.
Oh yeah, and that's what we all do, right? We go on vacation. What do we do? We pack a Bills shirt or a Buffalo shirt for every day, and maybe
on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, intentionally. Yeah, and maybe we have like a nice little button down short sleeve shirt because we have to wear it when we go out for dinner a couple of times, or whatever. But like, we're all rocking our Bills hat. We're all rocking our Bills, gear because we want to find each other. We want to, and isn't it the best thing ever? Like when you're walking through, some rando city and you're like, you got to go Bills and a high five. And it's like, my kids when they're younger, who's that? I have no idea. The Bills fan.
Yeah, and I'm sure even you're more recognizable too with true Bills fans because they know your story and they've seen you on mic'd up now for the second time. No. But yeah, you're
definitely
true
Bills fans. There's a lot of true Bills fans, I'm sure, that have no idea who I am, which is totally fine.
I don't think there's many anymore. I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years, so they must be sleeping and just tuning in on Sundays if that's the case. Let's get a little bit back to the entrepreneurial story. And I know that's a big part of our audience. They're here for the inspiration. So imagine this. Del from 2011 arrives today in the DeLorean and asks you for a few ultimate business tips to grow and scale your business. What would you tell him?
I think I would probably say, don't overthink it. Well, I'm trying to teach you. Am I trying to tell me how to get to where I am?
Yeah, like it's you in 2011 and you're like, I got this cool idea and I'm starting a business, but like, what do you got for me?
Don't rush it. Don't rush it. And I tell this story a lot when when I got laid off from Roswell in 2015 and decided to do 26 shirts full time. It was like for a long time before that, I was scheming and trying to think like, how can I find a way to do this full time? I really I feel like this is my calling. And it wasn't until I finally got exasperated and I was like, you know what, God, if I'm only supposed to do this on nights and weekends, that's fine. I love doing it. I love helping these families. I enjoy the creative process. But if this is all it's ever going to be, then I'm at peace. That's fine. Thank you for my job and thank you for everything that I have now. And if this is, if this is it, that's fine. And no lie, a week or two later, I got laid off. So it wasn't until I was totally cool with just being content with where I was at that time that this new opportunity came to do it full time. So it was I think I would probably tell a former me, don't force it. If something is meant to happen, it's going to happen. Just be faithful in the responsibilities that you have right now, and let the doors open, or, let the opportunities as they come by, take advantage of them, but don't force it, because, you don't want to jump into something earlier than you're supposed to.
Right. So what about this? What are some mulligans that you might have? Like if you can go back and do things over again, or there's something that you did that maybe you can help prevent someone from making that same mistake?
Uh, don't go spend crazy. Opportunities come like every bill season. And I've always said yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
Um,
sponsor this whole at the next tournament, and
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like
But even still,
yeah.
just other things, even not even just money, but like time, time.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, never saying no to anything, and always just being right on, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I've learned there's a lot of
I haven't studied Warren Buffett often, but one of the things he did say is one of the reasons he's so successful is he knows how to say no.
right, right.
So,
And I've learned that so many different careers, so many stories are defined by what you don't do, not by what you do.
mhm.
And so that, I would say that, there's a lot of power in that, in the ability to say no and just leave it at that. And so I've been, last year a little bit, this year even more so. I've had to say no to what are probably some great opportunities and some great things, but like at the end of the day, I'm one person,
Mhm.
or we're one shop here. If it involves 26 shirts, and we only have so much time in a day. Like, you don't
Mhm.
get extra hours. The more you commit to, you don't get more hours to work with. And so you
Yeah,
have to be a good steward of the hours that you have, because that's the one thing you can always,
it's a currency for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, you can always make more money. You can always like hire more people, or you can always find different things, but the one thing you can't create is time. And so you have to be
Yeah,
very careful with it, and very, it has to be very precious.
that's awesome. That's not an answer I expected, so that's why I love asking questions and having different people on from all different walks of life and different industries, because you get different perspectives, and that's one that I think it's taken for granted. Time is precious, like you just said. Really cool. So one thing, we're talking about sponsorships and doing events. I'm way, 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 and I'm the producer of the show, so I get to choose when we run our sponsored ads. But we're like, 25 minutes behind on getting over to our sponsor. So we're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back with Dell. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. All right, we're back in action with Reid. And remember, you can connect with him on social media. I got that clickable in the show notes, as well as 26 shirts. All their links, their website is there as well. So right before the break, we started talking business again. And I just wanted to ask, if there's something, if you ever pause, take a little bit of a reflection, just to kind of think, man, that was really cool that I got to be a part of that or create that or experience that. Have you ever had a moment like that to really reflect on it?
It's gonna sound super corny when I say every day, like every
Yeah.
day, like dude, like I get to come, I get to come up with like fun shirt ideas that express a fandom that we all share, and I get to work with people that come up with those awesome ideas. I get to work with a team. I get to wear t-shirt and jeans or t-shirt and shirts to work every day. I can't believe it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I always joke I have a collar allergy, but um, yeah, no, just like in terms of like the big picture, yeah, I cannot believe that this is actually happening. It
Hmm.
continues to happen. But in certain things, there's been some really cool opportunities, and one of the stories that I often share. I mean, it happened a while ago, so I might have even shared it on your episode 3.
Hmm.
But in 2014, we did it. Actually, the shirt came out in like February or something, 2015. But
Hmm.
we did a shirt in partnership with Thurman Thomas. So we did it was about Thurman, and he modeled the shirt and everything. And we actually got to go to his house and like do a photo shoot there at his house. And I was like, wow, I'm on Thurman Thomas's back deck taking a picture of him. And it's not like something weird where like I'm not supposed to be there like a stalker. Like I was
Yeah.
invited over like
In the
and
tree.
I remember like being in that moment because Thurman was one of my favorite. I mean, obviously being a
Yeah. The
'90s kid,
Terminator.
just he was one of my favorite players to this day. I mean, shoot, a few years ago I was in a fantasy draft, like on a podcast, like who all time players who you're drafting to start your team, and Thurman was my first round pick.
It's
He's
a
the
great
best all
pick.
around back,
Hmm.
uh, in football
He was a
in the
little bit
early
ahead of
'90s.
his time with that pass
Yeah.
catching back that can also
Yep.
run great between the tackles,
Yep.
can go out wide for a 30-yard strike. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
fantastic.
He was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah,
He was amazing to watch.
yeah.
And I don't think today's younger
It was like a
fans even
superhero,
realize.
man. Like the Bills teams we grew up with, those '90s teams. I'm a little bit younger than you, I think, but it was like watching superheroes come to life on
Mhm.
Sundays.
Yeah, it was really like it was, especially those early teams like the 90,
Yeah.
91.
You had Bruce
Um,
Smith, who was the big, hulking, like just knocking down Dan Marino. The bad guys getting eaten turf. And you got, Kelly
yep.
throwing these beautiful time passes like,
Mhm.
rainbows to Andre Reid and Lofton. And then you had the Terminator just kind of cutting, like linebackers are crashing into each other because they can't get them. And it was just so much fun.
Yeah. So I mean that's probably one of my favorite opportunities. And then also as my kids get older now, I remember
Mm.
we were doing a shirt with Micah Hyde like last year's spring.
Was that for the softball tournament?
No, it wasn't. It's actually just for a young fan that loved him,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
we were doing a shirt for this young fan. It turns out he loves Micah Hyde, so I'm like, all right, well, maybe we can actually work with Micah Hyde on this, and
Wow.
was able to connect all the dots there and everything and make that happen. But I remember we were my daughter. She was in the car with me. My younger daughter, she was at that time 16, and you know how the Apple CarPlay will show like little text message ribbons on the dashboard when they come up, and
Right.
a text message ribbon comes up and it says Micah Hyde. And my daughter goes,
Wow.
is that really Micah Hyde? I'm like, yeah, we're talking about it. It was just kind of cool. It's a cool flex because like
Yeah.
every dad
Yeah.
wants his children to think he's
Uh-huh.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's a 16-year-old daughter, which is very hard for a dad to be cool in her eyes. So that was kind of cool as well. So, um, but it's also an opportunity to teach her that at the end of the day, like these guys run fast, they catch great, they're amazing athletes, but they're humans, and
They're humans.
they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and I do. And he was awesome to work with, Micah, in that specific instance too. Big heart, really great guy, understands what we do and our mission. And he just really like loved on that kid, Dylan, who idolizes Micah Hyde. And then the fact that we did a shirt about Micah Hyde and then Micah Hyde actually met him. It just
Yeah.
very gracious guy.
It's another reminder of like, look, I've only been a Bills fan, so I don't really know what it's like in other cities to say what their players are like. But the thing about being a Bills fan that's great, at least I'll definitely say these more recent teams that we have, like Josh Allen is the most incredible football player I've ever seen in my lifetime, but he's also a great guy. He's there. He answers the call for, a photo op with a kid that, is in the hospital or something, like he's there. He's the first person there. You don't have to ask him twice. You got Micah Hyde doing amazing things. Stefan gets all this bad press in the media, but like he's on the sideline, like signing people's sneakers, and he's spending extra time with kids. And he's going, I remember there's a story with a kid that I think it was sneakers, and he went back to find the kid again. I think he didn't have a dad or something happened in a family situation, and Stefan picked up on it and reached out to the family and took care of him. Like that's special. I don't know that happens as much with other teams. I can't speak to it, but I know that this team is easy to root for because
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
awesome dudes. They're fantastic football players, but they're great human beings. And I wanted to hit on that. Now, here's what I want to say, Dale. Go ahead if you had another thought, but I wanted
I
to
was
add
I
to it.
was just going to say credit to Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean because they're responsible for bringing those people in, bringing those players in, and that I believe is one of their criteria when it comes to like the players they bring in is they have to be high character guys. So good on them for understanding that a team is more than just a collection of dudes that can run fast and throw and catch.
Yeah, and they go to Rochester and hang out at the dorm for 2 weeks in the middle of the hottest 2 weeks in our Buffalo summer. And it's like it creates these bonds, and it's smart that they do that. And a lot of credit to Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean. What I wanted to say to you, man, not going to make you blush here, but I love having you on. Your company's successful. You raise a ton of money for great causes. You're a cool dude. You're easy to root for, just like the Bills are. But also, like, I'm a dad. I have one daughter. She's 8. And I know that you have daughters that were probably 8 when you and I first started talking, because now you said they're 16. I mean, the math is pretty close to that. And it's just, I want to say, like, you're someone who I always look up to because I know that you spend a lot of time at 26 Shirts. You spend a lot of time in the community. You're at the Bills games, but you involve your family in it. They're there with you. Of course, it helps that they also love the Bills, but it's infectious. So they get that from dad. And also, I want to give a shout out to your wife because I know it's Chrissy, right? If I
Yep.
remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, she's awesome and supportive, and I don't think 26 Shirts would have happened remotely close to what it is.
Nope.
I know you told me that kind of off camera last time. So I just want you to know, dude, like you're a great person for this show, not just because of Buffalo and the connection, but you are the example that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs can look at and say, this dude puts in the time, it's in his heart, he's doing it for the right reason, but he's not sabotaging his family for it. You're
Hey
involving
man,
them in it.
I'm gonna
It's
be
really
real.
awesome.
There's been times when I could have done a way better job at that. I'll be, just being honest. And when you asked me if I had regrets, as we were kind of finishing up that little segment, I was thinking, I really should have mentioned that. There's been times where I've missed opportunities with my family because I was too busy, focused on an opportunity that came with the business. And it's a balance because at the same time, like this business is what feeds my family, is what, I mean, my wife is an amazing teacher. Like, so we're not like a single income household. She does an amazing job with the kids at school and everything. But it, there's been opportunities. One thing I try to mention, had the privilege to speak at a panel discussion at UB last year with a couple other entrepreneurs. And one thing I tried to mention to the class that we were speaking to was when you read a bedtime story to your kid for the last time ever, you don't know it's going to be the last time you ever read them a bedtime story. And so I think it's super important for entrepreneurs to remember that like your first job, even before, providing for your family, is loving your family, is supporting your family, is being there for your family. And you need to be present. I think that's one of the most important things, is being present, not just being in the house, but being present with your family. And that's something I still have a lot of work to do on, because it's hard. If the entrepreneurs are listening to this, it's hard to turn it off, because you're afraid if I turn it off, like it's going to stay off,
Yeah. I always feel guilty. Like people are going to think I'm being lazy if I don't answer this text message in 5 seconds to my client. But it's also 8:30 at night, and it's like a family party's going on, and I should not be responding to that. Or it's Friday night, like I should not be responding to that because that's actually setting up bad precedent for them to think that they can keep doing that. But you said it earlier. Time is a currency that everybody has that same amount of time. You can't buy more time. That's why a lot of times people are on this show that have a ton of money and wealth and success, and they're sharing that amazing wisdom with us. But the thing that they all have, the same that you and I do, and anyone listening, is the same amount of time. And most of them regret that they didn't spend more of it with those that they love. So this is one of my favorite conversations of this interview, but also just of any of these episodes that I've done, because it's a great reminder and that's really what our kids want the most from us. Yeah, they want
Yeah.
the toys and the stuff and the back to school. I'm sure they want the coolest looking, stuff for the school year coming up. But the thing your daughters want, this, I'm not telling you something you don't know, but they just want time with dad to pay attention when they're talking and know what's going on. And obviously your wife, that's a huge key to relationship is being present and listening to her too. And
Yeah. My wife is an amazing partner in life. Uh, you're obviously raising our family. And even now, as time has gone on, she's become more and more involved in 26 shirts. Not really in like the overall decision making, but she has opinion. Not well, she's opinions, but she has wisdom. She has a lot of insight that I'm able to lean on. So I always say that she's the brains of the relationship. Um, but she's a trusted confidant for me, as I hope everybody has in their spouse. And Del Reid would not. Oh my gosh, I just spoke of myself in the third person. But I would not
yeah,
be
it's
Del
all
Reid. Would
good.
not be Del Reid
Yeah,
without Chrissy Reid. Like we
yeah,
we we are like this. There's not one without the other. I don't.
uh-huh.
It doesn't risk of sounding like a Nicholas Sparks novel. Like I don't know where like I end and she begins, or vice versa. So just big
Yeah.
shout out. I'm really grateful for her, and yeah, I love her.
Good. Well, that's inspiring to me, brother. I'm single at the moment, and it's like finding that magic that
Mhm.
like when I pitch something, an idea, that it's being met with someone who's excited for my success and excited to see me get excited about something, and it's not just someone who's like, oh man, he's going to be like real busy into this new thing. Finding someone who supports your mission is it's not that easy, really, but
Mhm.
it's so important. I know we're short on time, and I got a bunch more I want to cover with you. I'm just curious what you think of the new stadium plans. The documentary that the Bills put out was really cool, the behind the
Mhm.
scenes. What do you think about the new stadium? What are you looking forward to the most with that?
Uh, Giant buffaloes. Right? That's what everybody
Yeah.
says, right? Giant buffaloes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, honestly, the fact, we were there at the preseason game on Saturday, giant hole in the ground. And I told my kids, like, that hole in the ground is more significant than you will ever understand, because I grew up my entire life, with whispers of the Bills leaving Buffalo. And with that stadium now, like they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Not that anybody's really been worried about it since Pagula has purchased the team, but they're not going anywhere now. And so for me, that's the most exciting thing. It's just the fact that the stadium is happening, and
Yeah.
um,
30 more years
you
of
know,
Buffalo Bills history will be right there on that other side of Abbott Road.
yeah. And I'll be
Yeah.
pushing 80 by the time that comes
Yeah,
around.
you and
So
me will be telling kids, well, this is the guy who
yeah.
started the Bills Mafia. I promise it's him. It's the real guy. Here's a photograph. You know what a photograph is? But anyway,
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, the Buffaloes is funny. Pat McAfee, had Brandon Bean on. He does some
Hmm.
really cool interviews with Brandon, and it's cool to see your GM just kind of like shooting the shit with Pat. And he was talking about, are the giant buffaloes real, or is this like BS? And he confirmed that they're going to be there, and they're going to be big. You know, um, yeah, I'm excited for that. One thing I love that I'm looking forward to at the new stadium is there's supposedly not going to be a bad seat. The way that they're doing it too is like where the what do you call it when you're walking through, like where the vending. Can't think of
Concourse?
the name. Yeah, the
The
concourse.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the concourse. You're gonna be able to see the field from most of the concourse, and then it's designed, with some European stadiums in mind, right, where there's
Yeah.
not really a bad seat in the
Tottenham.
house. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I,
super
I
excited about that.
I can't wait. I can wait. It's fine. We'll get there. It's fine.
Yeah, 3 years is
Not,
gonna be a blink.
yeah, I'm
Another
not one
funny thing.
to wish time away.
So cool thing Josh did last year. I don't know if he's going to do it again this fall, but Kyle Brandt has Josh on his podcast, The
Hmm.
Basement.
Hmm.
And something that Josh shared is that he actually has a special bottle of bourbon and a speech prepared for when the Bills win the Super Bowl. Did you know about that?
Only from
Have you
that
heard about that?
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Like I love the fact that Josh is all in. Like he's getting that prepared for it. He's visualizing it. And but I just got to ask you, when the Bills win the Super Bowl, brother, what do you think you're gonna do in that moment?
I've always joked. I always joked I'm taking my family, I'm boarding up the house, we're hiding in the basement, and we'll come back out after a week among the ruins.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It is
have
a
no
weird
idea,
thing that
man.
like
I don't know.
people flip cars and blow stuff up. I know that
Yeah.
happens in most cities,
Yeah,
but
and I shouldn't even make a joke about that because like that is a serious thing that actually happens. So I shouldn't make
yeah,
jokes. But like um
no,
I don't
it's
know.
funny though. Yeah.
There's like a wall in my imagination. Like I have a very hard time seeing past that because for my entire life. Right. And I'll be honest with you, like the Bandits, the local lacrosse team, for those who are Buffalo impaired, your listeners, when they won the championship a couple months ago, like that was a teeny tiny little keyhole view into what it might be like when it finally happens for Buffalo, for the Bills. And um, I I know I'll cry. I know I'll cry. And I don't know. And people ask me sometimes like, if the Bills go to the Super Bowl, are you going to go? And I, I don't want to say definitively no, because if somebody says, "Yo, I got a ticket," you're going. Come on, let's go.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather go. But like, the idea of like sharing that moment
Hmm.
with my family for something,
Right.
we're a pretty Bill centric family, right? So
Yeah.
I think I'd feel like I was betraying them if
And it's
I
what you've
went
done
and
your
they
whole
weren't
life.
there. Yeah,
It's
my
like
whole life. Like I
it's
grew up.
weird to like
Yeah.
the biggest game of all time. You would change it. I got weird superstitions. Do you have any game day superstitions? I was going to ask you about that. Do you have to sit in the
Uh,
same chair or like have the potato
no,
chips in your one hand or what? Anything
I
crazy?
I don't believe in them, but I also believe, but I also like will always wear a pair of red, white, and blue socks, whether it's Bill socks or Captain America or
Yeah. So
whatever.
that's your game day
It's always
ritual.
I guess. But even
Yeah.
I mean, the one time I didn't do it this past season, they lost. So I mean,
There you
maybe it's
go.
real.
It's confirmed. My funny one is at the last 2 minutes of a game. I do this for the Yankees as well. I'm a huge Yankees fan, so a lot of
I'm
playoff
so sorry.
games.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
this year that it's been a rough year, but it's okay. One rough year, and I've had many beautiful years,
Hmm.
and got to experience that with my dad, and he's the one
Yeah,
who raised me a Yankees fan, and I got great memories of him popping
it's great.
champagne in the house, experiencing what I would imagine winning the Super Bowl would be like.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say my weird thing is I got to stand. If it's a close game, a one score game, I'll stand, and my family members, we will hold hands and stand in the
That's
moment.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we will. We will.
Yeah.
And if someone's over, like if the neighbor came over to watch a game, I'm like, dude, I know you think I'm weird already, but now you're gonna think I'm even weirder. You have to stand. They're like, I'm comfortable. You have to stand, or you have to go back home.
It's
Stand
funny.
up. And then like Josh will, score a touchdown, and then I look like I know what I'm talking about. But
It's
I
funny.
know it's just superstition.
I pace like crazy. I was say I pace
You
like
pace?
crazy. It's not just
Yeah,
superstition. I just can't. It drives my wife crazy. I'm like, I can't sit. How can you sit still when I have all this energy? So anyway, go ahead.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Um, I got some rapid fire. You got time for like six quick, fun rapid fire questions?
I got time for 7 if you got
Th
7,
th
brother.
yeah, this is for all the Bills Mafia that's still tuning in, for you, and I'm just the benefactor of them tuning in right now. So some rapid fire, Buffalo Bills style, drums or
Go.
flats?
Drums or flats? Flats.
Flats. And favorite Buffalo food aside from wings?
Buffalo has some of the best pizza in deep dish. I've had it. Bleh. New York pizza. Bleh. Too flat. Still tastes okay, but like pizza,
Mhm.
Buffalo pizza
Like a legit pizzeria, yeah,
or Mighty
Buffalo style.
Taco.
There you go.
Yeah.
One past Bills player, I think you may have answered this earlier, that you would love to add to the current team.
Past Bills. You know what? This is gonna sound crazy. Based on this year, Jason Peters. like I know he was a left tackle, but I was
He was
Jason
left
Peters,
tackle though. We got a
but
good
still a
left
tackle. Like, it was
Okay.
good. He could play right tackle.
Yeah.
He could play whatever.
He
like,
could play right.
He's a great
yeah.
offensive lineman. You know.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I would have to say Thurman. Not that you asked me, but like the Terminator, man, because I know we got some decent running backs this year. I'm looking forward to seeing how they perform. But man, Josh Allen handing the ball off to Thurman Thomas.
I had to be
sick.
cute though. I had to give you like a.
That was a good answer. That was a good answer. Yeah, I like it. Where were you during the greatest Bills comeback of all time? Do you remember?
I worked the first half at KFC because that was my senior year of high school. That was my job. I remember we were playing it over the speakers in the restaurant, and then it was like halftime. Like my shift was over, and I went home, and it wasn't on television. So I remember taking one of the giant speakers because at this time it was 1992, and turning it down the hallway. Those giant, console speakers from our stereo, and facing it towards the bathroom because when you work at KFC, you have to shower immediately when you come home. And so I had it blasting. My parents were home. I think my brother and our friend was the only one that was at home at that time for whatever reason. And I remember taking a shower it was like as the comeback was happening at this point. And I remember it was one of Andre's touchdowns, and I almost slipped and broke my neck in the shower.
Oh my God.
But that was just that. So I was at work and at home. Thankfully,
you're probably doing the same pose as Andre when he kind of like he's jumping, spiking the ball, and like his legs are splitting in the air. Like you were doing that in the shower.
Yep. Yeah,
that's
probably.
Funny, brother.
So I survived it, so that's good.
That's awesome. Quick trivia question: do you remember the final score of that game?
41-38.
Yes, sir. All right. Hey, game day beverage of choice.
Game day beverage of choice. Honestly, probably water. Arnold Palmer iced teas, those giant 99-cent cans if they're still 99 cents. I know a lot of people would probably say beer. Big craft beer fan, but I don't like any fuzziness during the game. I want to be able to pay attention. So, something non-alcoholic.
You and I have that in common. I'm there because I love the game and I want to see it and remember as much as possible. But we talked about some game day rituals and superstitions already, so I'm not going to hit on that again. Do you have a favorite piece of Bills memorabilia that you own and that it's just treasure?
That's a really good question. My single favorite piece. I have a book that my parents bought me for Christmas in 1991. It was a book by Vic Carucci. It was called The Almost Dreams Season, and it went through the entire season of 1990 leading up to Super Bowl 25. And I remember the inscription in it. My dad wrote, Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday. I can't remember which one it was for because my birthday's on December 17th. So it's one of those like, maybe this year it won't be a dream.
That's pretty cool. 12/17.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
That's yes, 100%. That's my birthday. Jim Kelly, Josh Allen.
17. That is cool. Yeah, that's a cool thing. That's a cool piece of sports, Bill's sports history to have from Vic Carucci, a great reporter in town. Still doing it, I believe, right? Vic's still rocking.
Yeah, I think he's doing like Channel 2 now, and he has a serious show. So I don't know. I'm not. Yeah. Exactly
he's still working though. Yeah, he's still doing this thing.
Oh, he's still getting after it.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite 26 shirts design of all time?
That's tough. Because it sounds super catchy or corny or whatever, but like
they're all like my baby. I can't pick one. I know. Okay, but, all right, Bill.
No,
pick
but
one,
I see the families behind the shirts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say we did one that looked like the Marvel, just like the rectangular Marvel logo, but it said Buffalo.
Yeah,
I think that's a good catch-all.
That was the cover of episode 3. You were wearing that in episode 3.
Was that really?
For the cover design.
Oh yeah, I'm like this, right? More of my charge hat and everything.
I ripped the picture off of Google, but yeah, you were wearing it.
Yeah,
thanks for the permission, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Brody Wheeler who took that headshot. Great guy.
Yeah,
that's what's probably. I mean, that's a safe one to say. We've had a lot of fun ones. We did one called Symbiote, which like a buffalo like merged with Venom. They're all going to have like those mashups with the comics and stuff like that. So one of those.
Very cool. Who do you think is going to be the Bills' breakout player of 2023?
That's a great question. I think it's going to be James Cook. I think that he is going. I think that he's going to be given the opportunities. We'll see. he'll be given the opportunities to really make something for himself this year. So I want to believe that the Bills are going to be leaning more on running this year than they have in years past. So
I want to see him get used like Kamara. Like, dude, if we can get him, I think he's just as talented as him. Like, it's not that far fetched. If we can use him like Kamara and they were passing the ball to him, running the ball, throwing. We need to get a screen game going, and James Cook will be cooking, baby. I agree. I think James Cook's a good answer. I'm glad I asked you because I thought the answer was going to be Dalton Kincaid. He's been
that's my 1B.
That's everybody's
that's my 1B.
pick right now. Yeah. That's everybody's pick. All right, I got some fun Bills trivia, and we're going to put an exclamation on this episode. What NFL record did Josh Allen break that was previously held by Dan Marino?
I'm going to guess like the number of seasons with X number of touchdown passes.
So it was the most touchdowns in his first 5 seasons.
Okay, so does that count? Right,
yeah, that's close. Okay, sure. Hold on. Do we give it to him? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, cool.
All right, I'll take it.
All right. Who is the Bills' all-time scoring leader?
Steve Christie. No,
yes, sir.
No. Oh, is it? Okay, all right.
That's right. Who are you going to think? Who are you going to say?
I was going to say somebody had passed him, but Steve Christie, yeah.
Steve Christie with 1,011 points. All right, this one's, I think you should definitely know this one, but this is for people. The reason I asked this question is because I think 80% of young Bills fans don't know the answer to this. Who was the K-Gun offense actually named after?
Keith McKellar.
Yes, sir. This one I dug up. I had to try to find something that might be a little bit, but who had more passing yards for the Bills, Bledsoe or Fitzpatrick?
Bledsoe.
Fitzmagic had him beat.
I'm sorry, Ryan, if you're watching, I'm sorry, dude.
Sorry. All good.
I thought it was a trick because my brain went to Fitzpatrick, but I was like, no, it's a trick question. Nope.
He played one extra season, so naturally, but yeah, Bledsoe had some pretty impressive passing numbers when he was here.
Yeah, because I remember he only had one season. He had like 3,000 exact yards. Fitzpatrick. I mean, there was one season. I think it was like 3,000 exact, maybe 3,001, but I think it was 3,000. So that's why I thought.
Yeah. And Tyrod had the 3,000 year too, right?
Good for you, Tyrod. I forgot. Shame on me for forgetting.
He had his one year, and then because I remember back then, like 3,000 yard passing, and for the Bills during the drought years was a lot. And now Josh gets like 40. Josh throws for 4,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, runs for 700 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And there's people on Twitter that still say the dude's overrated. I can't stand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Crazy.
If he could play for the Seahawks, and like Bills fans would respect that. I don't understand why the rest of the world can't respect that the Bills have one of the best football players to ever do it. So
that's hilarious.
Just the numbers back it up. I just told you the stat about the most touchdowns in his first 5 seasons.
Yep.
So you answered this one. The final score of the comeback game was 41-38. We also did this already too. Universal greeting to fellow Buffalonians and members of BillsMafia.
Hello, fellow Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah.
Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby. Yeah. You just have to see someone and Go Bills comes out.
Go Bills.
This is kind of silly. This is for our brother named Bill. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The amount of points BillsMafia predicts they will defeat their opponents by.
1 billion.
Yes, sir. Bills by 1 billion. All right, Del, you've been an awesome guest. This was so much fun. Is there anything, last kind of final words, whether it's encouragement, it could be Bills related, anything else you want to get out to the mic'd up audience today?
No, I want to give you, like I said, I'll circle back to what I started this with. I think you do a great job with this. I'm proud of you. I remember when you first went out and started doing this, you said, I'm going to do this full time. And I was like, yes. Yeah. If you find something you love, you get the opportunity to do it. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. I don't know how many years you've been doing this now.
So I've done this. This is going to be episode 199, and I've released an episode every Monday since I started. I haven't missed a Monday. So 199 weeks, whatever that, 3+ years. November 4th, 2019 was episode 1.
There it is. Awesome. Good for you, man. You deserve, a lot of credit for that. It's not easy.
Thank you.
It's not easy to go out on your own and to basically say, this is going to pay my bills. My passion is going to pay my bills. And it's not easy. So credit to you, man. You're doing a great job with it and keep up.
Thanks, brother. I'll share this. Like, mic'd up isn't the thing that does pay the bills. What it ended up doing, it's similar to like BillsMafia. Like in your story, creating BillsMafia allowed 26 shirts to be born. Creating Mic'd Up allowed Social Chameleon to pivot and become a podcast company. Because previously I was kind of doing like social media ads and stuff for people, and I'd make, a few $100 here and there, but it was definitely not enough in the early days to pay the bills and supplement my actual income when I was a W-2. Like, I was a manager in corporate America making decent money. So it took a couple years for me to build it. But if I didn't start Mic'd Up, guarantee 100% positivity that Social Chameleon's nowhere as successful as it is because of it. So,
dude,
you never know.
No entrepreneur is doing one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No
100%. Yeah. So good. Del, I got one last question. I think I may have asked this way back in episode 3, but I'm sure you don't remember your response then. And it's changed because it was 3 years ago. You're the author and protagonist in your own life story. You get to write the ending, and God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back on it, you're reflecting on it, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
The world knew him for trying to make a difference in people's lives, but his family knew him as someone who loved and cared and invested in them.
Yeah, so good. You are doing that, brother. I know that you're not only mindful of it, but your actions speak louder than your words. I got 2 things I say to everybody at the end of the episode. Be great and be grateful. And today there's a third one. Go Bills!
Go Bills.
Let's get it. Let's go for 4 years in a row, AFC East champions, and let's actually get that hardware this year. This is so much fun. I'll have you on again for 3.0, and you can come on every year if you want. But I just want to say again, thank you for your time. You're an awesome role model in the community, and keep making those damn T-shirts because they're doing a lot in this community, and there's people's lives being changed by it. So it's awesome.
You're an encouragement, man. Thank you.
Thank you for hanging with us all the way until the end. If you haven't done it already, you can click right over here to subscribe to my channel. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you're notified of all of the updates. If you guys like shorter clips, I have mic drop moments right here. That's when my guest gives an amazing insight, and we capture that right here. Mic drop moments, and down here are the full-length episodes. All my previous episodes are right there.